What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because I had to buy something to feel something, and today we're back at it with another review. For today's review, we are taking a look at Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Cav and Misty 2-pack. And these two stormtroopers aren't your ordinary stormtroopers. They are Scar troopers from the Scar Squadron, also known as Task Force 99. And it's really nice to see that Hasbro has not given up on Task Force 99. It's been 3 years since the last release, so I was kind of, starting to get worried that Hasbro forgot about these guys. But the first release for this task force was in 22 with Sergeant Creel, and then in 23 with Mike. And with this release, that means we have only 3 members of Task Force 99 left, that being Arrow, Sharp, and Zook. So hopefully we can get those releases sooner than later. But at any point during or after the video, you do realize you want to pick up this 2-pack for yourself, you can at Hasbro Pulse, because this is a Hasbro Pulse exclusive for $55.99. I will leave a link in the description of the video so you can easily access the Hasbro Pulse website for your purchasing needs. And as far as introductions go, that's all I really got. I'm happy to see that Hasbro is picking up the Task Force 99 members, and hopefully we can get all of them at some point. But with enough said, let's open up these bad boys. So when it comes to the packaging, we get some nice artwork of Task Force 99 up in front. We got the title on the bottom, or the names of the characters that we're going to be looking at today. We get some nice artwork on the side of our characters, and then on the other side of the packaging we get some portraits and again the title of the or names of the figures we're reviewing. On the back we get some more artwork, some more names, so you know who's who. We can open up the packaging, we get a photo of the two, a brief description of what they're all about, and then we can actually see the figures inside and everything that's included. And it seems that everything included, or that should be included, is there. So with all that said, let's open up these two. So right out of the box, I can confirm that these are some fresh looking figures. From first impressions, I have nothing to complain about. And one thing that applies to both figures is that for the most part, they reuse a lot of the current Stormtrooper mold. Well, they are Stormtroopers, so that is to be expected, but they don't have too much that makes them different from a regular Stormtrooper for the most part. And I say that as the first figure that we're going to go over is Cav, who is probably the most different from your typical Stormtrooper. But before I go in depth into either one of these characters, if you own any modern Stormtrooper figures in the Black Series, you should know what to expect. Nice shiny white armor that is well sculpted, and the undersuit is black and also well sculpted with lines and wrinkles for the undersuit. In this segment, I just really want to focus on what makes them different from a Stormtrooper, because they're special Stormtroopers. And like I said, I want to start off by talking about Cav, and that is because he's the most different amongst the two figures, and we're gonna go from top to bottom. So starting off in the helmet area, for the most part the helmet is your typical Stormtrooper helmet. It's got the grays, the blacks, the blue, and obviously that white plastoid armor. But what makes it different is he has an X on his face, and this X starts on the forehead and works its way down to the midsection of the helmet. And then moving down to the left arm, Cav has a cybernetic arm with a unique shoulder plate. The shoulder plate is a bit wider than your typical Stormtrooper shoulder armor. As far as the sculpt work goes, it's just a plate on top of another plate, pretty simple, and the paint work is just your typical plastoid white for your Stormtrooper armor. And then when it comes to the cybernetic arm, in the shoulder and tricep bicep area, it's a lot more detailed, a lot more mechanical, with different lines and panels and bolts. And when it goes down to the forearm area, it's a lot smoother, there's a lot more color. We have some red and blue. The blue is most likely lights that emit from the arm, and then the hand is even highly detailed with different panels and mechanical bits sculpted in there, which is just really awesome to see. I really like how this arm came out, and I just have to give Hasbro props. So moving to the torso, and on the front we have some sheaths for his knives, and the paintwork is really simple. It's just painted all black. But as far as the sculpt work goes, it looks really good. It's textured to look like leather, which I really like, make it as immersive as possible. And then on the back area we have this little jump pack. The paint application is very simple. It's just a dark gray, but the detail is still really good. We have some line work, some panels, some screws, the ventilation, and the thrusters look great as well. well. And then moving down to the belt, we can see that there are 4 pouches. They're all pretty much the same. They're all painted black and have some leather texture on it to, make them look really nice. And then the final piece that sets Cav aside from your typical stormtrooper, at least visually, is the thigh sheath for his final knife. The strap is pretty simple, and the sheath that actually holds the blade is textured to look like it's made from leather, just like the ones on the chest. And overall, very simple. It's painted all black like all the other pouches and accessories found on Cav. So overall, with the modern stormtrooper mold and the accessories they used to build upon that mold, I think that this turned out to be a great looking figure, and I can't wait to see what the rest of Task Force 99 will look like in the Black series. And then moving over to Misty, right now, if Misty did not have this cloak, it'd be like 95% regular stormtrooper. You think it would have just been a stormtrooper who just found some stuff on the battlefield, honestly. But starting off with the cloak, the most, defining thing about Misty's appearance, I'm very happy it's cloth goods. I would honestly think this would be the most unsuccessful stormtrooper figure if this was a hard plastic cloak, because of how limiting the range would be when it comes to the articulation, because this cloak does cover a lot of Misty's body. So very good on Hasbro for making this a cloth good, and it does look great. I like the green, I like the red stripe. I think this was handled perfectly. And then as for the other accessories included on Misty, on the belt we have some pouches, a wide and thin one, and they are textured to look like they are made out of leather. And then on the left leg we have some small pouches as well, again textured to look leather. And the final accessory is this knife sheath on his right leg, and again, if you aren't catching on by now, it is textured to look like it's made from leather. And all of these pouches are painted black, so it is a pretty simple paint application. So overall, I think this is a pretty good looking figure. I mean, it builds upon what is deemed the definitive mold for the stormtrooper, and the accessories are simple yet effective. I mean, obviously Hasbro has to recreate the design of this character, and I feel like they did that really well with the mold that they do have. And before I break down the articulation for these figures, I'm only gonna go over Cav, because spoiler alert, Cav and Misty have no difference in articulation. They both have the same range in all the same places. And even when Misty has the cloak on, he can still move his arms and other parts that are covered by the cloak as if the cloak was never there, which is another reason why I like cloth goods. But I just want to get that out of the way before showing off the articulation of these figures. So starting off with head articulation, we can rotate the head 360 degrees, and then we can bring the head back and forth / up and down, and we can get some nice range from swaying the head side to side. And the neck is connected to the body via a ball joint, so we can get a nice spherical range of motion there and further extend the range in the head region of this figure. And then moving over to the arm, we can rotate it up and over 360 degrees, and then we can bring the arm up and down a decent amount. And the same could be said about the range when you bring the arm up and down this way. And there is a butterfly joint in the shoulder, so we can further extend the arm forward. Then we can rotate the elbow down 360 degrees. And we can get a nice elbow bend that goes past the 90-degree mark, which is always welcomed. And then for the hand, we can rotate it 360 degrees and bend the wrist however we please. And then when it comes to the torso, we can rotate it 360 degrees. We can also get a nice back and forth motion. And the same could be said about the range when swaying the torso side to side. And when it comes to rotating the legs, we cannot get a full 360-degree rotation, but the range is still really good nonetheless. It feels organic and right. And then we can get some decent splittage out of our figure, and we can also pivot the thigh for further range and balancing. And then from the elbow down, we can rotate the leg 360 degrees. And then for the knee bend, we get a really nice bend that goes past the 90-degree mark. And then when it comes to the boot, we can rotate it 360 degrees and bend the ankle however we please. So to kick off this segment, I'm going to go over an accessory that both figures share, and that is the knives. There are 4 knives for Cav and 1 for Misty. For Cav, you get 3 to put on his chest, 1 on his boot sheath, and Misty only gets 1 for his boot sheath. And the knives themselves, it's pretty simple visual presentation here with silver for the most part with some dark gray on the handle. And I'm very impressed with the sculpt work on these knives because there's some grooves on the handle, some serrations on the blade, and just some other detail sculpted in there. So just a lot of detail for such a small accessory. Props to Hasbro for that. And obviously you just slide these knives into their respected sheaths, and once they're in, they don't feel like they're gonna fall out. Nothing feels too loose, doesn't feel like you're gonna lose them, which is always nice to see. And overall, very happy with the execution of this accessory. And one thing that I forgot to mention is when it comes to the knives, Cav does have a hand that is sculpted to hold them tightly, similar to the swappable hand that we got with the most recent release of Dinjarin. But unfortunately, Misty doesn't come with any kind of hand like that. He comes with 2 trigger finger hands, and those don't support knives at all whatsoever. So on one point, it is cool to see that Cav gets a hand to hold the knives, but it is a bummer that Misty doesn't. Then getting into the first blaster included, and that is Cav's blaster, which seems to be a shortened version of a E5 blaster, which is a battle droid blaster. And honestly, that is probably one of the more unique choices for a stormtrooper that I've seen, and this is a pretty unique accessory because this is the first time we've ever gotten a shortened E5. I know with a upcoming release for the Mandalorian Grogu movie, there's another droid that gets another modified E5 blaster, so it seems like this is just the year for the Black Series to get more quirky with the E5. But overall, I think the accessory is fine. The paint job is very simple with a dark gray, and the detail is all there. You got a whole bunch of textures and grooves and lines and bolts, and everything that should be there is there if you have any E5s in your collection, so you know what to expect. And overall, very happy with the execution of this accessory. And for the second and final blaster included, we do have Misty's sniper rifle, and for the life of me I could not find the designation for it, so I'm just going to refer to it as Misty's sniper rifle. And as far as visuals go, it's pretty simple. It's got a dark gray paint job with some blue highlights to bring it some life. So when it comes to the sculpt work for this blaster, I want to be very clear that Hasbro did put a bunch of detail into this blaster. It is noticed, and it is nice to see that, you know, there's all this stuff on the body, the scope, and the barrel of the rifle. Like, there is no part of the gun left untouched, which is great. But for me personally, this blaster looks like if you ask someone to draw a sniper rifle from memory without being specific. And I don't know if that's on Hasbro's end or if that's the designer of this blaster and, you know, Hasbro having to work with what comic panels they had. And obviously Hasbro didn't invent the blaster themselves, but I mean, like, did they put as much detail as they could with what they had? This is me more being subjective, and you know, I get this is a toy, but just to make it clear, it is passable. I have no issues with the sculpt work. There's a bunch of detail on here. I just don't know how I feel about the blaster itself. And here we are at the turntable segment of the video, pretty much where I go over my general thoughts and opinions, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, stuff like that. Give y'all something to bounce off of. Go down in the comment section below and get a conversation started. And obviously, I will reply to y'all's comments because I love talking about this stuff if you couldn't tell. And I like to kick off this segment by talking about the sour stuff first, just to get it out of the way, because I don't like dwelling on the negative any longer than I already have to. And fortunately, for this 2-pack, there's only one thing that comes to mind, and that is the fact that Misty does not have a hand for his knife. Now, I understand that he's got the sniper rifle, that's his whole shtick, so 99% of the people who are going to pick up this 2-pack will be displaying Misty with the sniper rifle, including myself. But it would be nice to have that option to display him with the knife and have him hold his knife properly and not worry about it being, you know, lost because it fell out of his hand so easily. And if we want to be all stingy, I guess you could also argue that Cav should have come with a swappable hand so that the other hand could be more open to hold the blaster better. But it's not the end of the world. It is a blaster that is typically going to be displayed in one hand anyways, but you know, it is what it is. So getting into what I like about this 2-pack, the biggest thing is the cloak for Misty and how it's cloth goods, because if it was molded plastic, I feel like this figure would have been greatly hindered and you wouldn't be able to get a lot out of this figure. But because Hasbro made that call to make the cloak out of cloth, we're able to still take advantage of the articulation on this figure and display this figure in a variety of poses. But after the cloak, both figures do reuse a lot of Stormtrooper parts, and that mold is good, no issues with it visually. If you have any of the modern Stormtroopers, you should know what to expect, and the new unique parts for these characters are great as well, so I have no issue there. When it comes to the accessory selection, nothing too crazy in terms of reinventing the wheel. They came with the blasters that they are seen within their proper media, and I thought they were executed fine. So honestly, these are just some very well-rounded, well-made figures. I don't think any of them reinvent the wheel besides Misty, pushing forward that agenda of cloth goods are going to be way better than molded plastic. So overall, very happy with Hasbro executed this release. So that's how I feel about this release. Obviously, I want to hear what you guys think, so please go down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts and opinions. And that's pretty much everything I got. This was the Hasbro Star Wars The Black Series Misty and Cav 2-pack. I really enjoyed going over this. I was happy to see that Hasbro is picking up the Scar Squadron yet again. Hopefully they can finish off the squad, because I think we have 3 more members left, and I'm very interested to see how Hasbro is going to tackle them. And if at any point during or after the video you do realize you want to pick up these figures for yourself, there will be links in the description so you can pick up this figure off of the Hasbro Pulse website. And if you already have this release, like I said a bajillion times probably, I want to hear what you guys think, so please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy today's video, a like and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. Don't worry about commenting if you don't want to. I get it, it's a lot of effort. And don't worry about the bell, because we both know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, there's plenty of it on the channel. I have a handful of Black Series videos already out. But if you like other franchises such as Halo, Warhammer, Alien, Predator, Alien vs. Predator, and anything just nerdy in those, scenes, I got videos covering those franchises as well. So feel free to go check those out. And with all that said, please have a great day and stay hydrated, because it is important.